of the old general manager. Maybe their best defensive player, Keith Millard, is out. Their quarterback, Wade Wilson, is hurting as well. The Donald Igwe thing has been a continuing problem here. And then there's the Herschel Walker story, and I guess that may be the biggest of them all.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's time to fess up. The trade has been an abysmal failure. Nobody seems to be willing to admit that around here, but it has been, and it continues to be a distraction for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, you can't, I think, blame just Herschel Walker. They knew what kind of back he was when they traded for him. He's always been the featured kind of back. He has not been so here. And I think what this team needs now is somebody else to step forward, Skip, and try to win a football game. Get back on the right track, and so they don't have to stop. They stop answering the questions about Herschel Walker and get back to playing football.
It must be awfully hard to focus when you're going bad, and it's in the paper every day, and all these other extraneous things are happening as well.
Yeah, because I think everybody in this league is so good. You have to be able to focus and concentrate. And for the Vikings tonight, it's focusing just on the next play. Don't worry about last week or next week. And we're talking to Rich Gannon, the quarterback of the Vikings, yesterday. He said, hey, we have nothing to lose tonight, so we might as well go out and have a lot of fun.
Meanwhile, Dan Reeves and his crew, they aren't thrilled about being 3-4 on the year, but they're still in pretty good shape, at least for a wild card spot if they can get straightened away.
Well, remember, this is a Super Bowl team of a year ago that has struggled a little bit. They are disappointed, but they do have the shot at the wild card, but they have to really get better on defense. But offensively, it's becoming a different type of team. They've evolved over the last year and a half. It's no longer just John Elway's team. His big play production is down. He's only thrown for 6 touchdowns. It's become more of a balanced team with Bobby Humphrey, the running back, who's playing with an injured ankle that he hurt several weeks ago. Tried to play 2 weeks ago. Only was in for 1 play. Well, about Bobby Humphrey, he probably reads blocks as well as any running back in the National Football League right now. He's not going to outrun a lot of people, but he seems to be able to turn 4- and 5-yard gains into 8- and 9-yard gains. And so this Denver Broncos team is no longer just John Elway, but it's also Bobby Humphrey, and that's what they need a lot tonight, of a lot of first downs out of Humphrey.
There are your two coaches, both struggling a little bit this year. The toss has been won by Denver. Fouad Reveiz will kick it off to Alton Montgomery and Kevin Clark. And we're about ready to go, and we sincerely hope you'll enjoy our final Sunday night game of the year on TNT. Clark wears number 20, Montgomery number 22, and we're underway. It's Kevin Clark at the 1. He found a little seam across the 20 out to the 21. Ken Stills made the stop. A 22-yard return, and we're ready to go. Yeah. John Elway leads his team out, Patty.
And Skip, we were just talking about this not necessarily just being John Elway's team. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the year, and up until 2 weeks ago when they played the Colts their last game, really hadn't had any big plays. He had 2 long touchdown passes in their last game, but tonight what he wants to see is be able to use Bobby Humphrey and hope his defense gets healthy and plays better than they have in a while.
We have a player down, and we have not yet been able to spot who it is. It's a Denver player. That's Montgomery.
Wow, geez, and he is supposed to start at defensive corner tonight for the Denver Broncos. And you know, Wade Phillips was saying this week, we've had so many guys in defensive backfield injured for us this year, we haven't been able to play our regular defensive backs. Center of the screen, number 22.
He comes off the field under his own power, and we're ready to go. Orson Mobley is in the game. Melvin Bratton and Bobby Humphrey are the running backs. That's Humphrey. He pops it outside, and he gets close to the 30-yard line. Middle linebacker Scott Studwell made the stop.
You know, the key to Bobby Humphrey tonight, playing on an injured right ankle, is how well he cuts. And I think you find that out in the first couple of runs. He is not a speed back. He's not the type of guy who's going to run 65 yards. You say, wow, he can really fly by you. But he's an incredibly productive guy because he cuts so well and reads his blocks so well.
Jackson splits wide to the right. Vance Johnson in the slot to the right side. Humphrey. He's hit almost immediately. Close to the first down, however. Al Noga out of Hawaii made the stop. Let's see if he moved the chain. He's close. He did.
Well, it's Keith Millard, Dolman, who is injured for the Vikings.
Well, that's all they need.
And the problems, you look at both of these teams and you wonder why they haven't been successful. They were expected to really compete for the Super Bowl, both these teams, but for the Vikings, the problems have been on defense. You can see the points they're allowing, a lot more than a year ago, and yards. They only have 3 sacks a game. That was part of their game last year when they had 5 and 0.3 per game, and the record reflects that. So in a year of defensive football in the NFL, I think the theme of the good teams this year, the top 6 teams, has been great defense and special teams. Both these teams tonight have not played as well as they have defensively a year ago, and that's the reason both teams are struggling.
Well, they have Millard out. Now they have Dolman hurting. Browner, they say, has not had a real great year. He's a fine performer. Dolman is on his feet and makes his way off and will probably be back.
Yeah, there on the left part of the screen, it was his, looked like it was right wrist. It took a shot in the helmet, actually from one of his teammates. And there's a guy you don't just measure on his sacks, though. Everybody says he's having a bad year, but the people around him are getting a lot of sacks, and that is because he's getting double teamed and sometimes triple teamed.
Johnson wide to the right. Shannon Sharp splits out as well. Humphrey once more, and he gets close to the 35-yard line, no more than that. Joey Browner out of the secondary. The safety made the stop, and Dolman comes right back into the game, and John Randall goes out.
And this is how this Denver offense with Bobby Humphrey has changed over time. Again, they used to only be able to run kind of trick plays. It's a trap here, a draw there. They'd run out of the shotgun. Now with Bobby Humphrey, they can be a much more conventional offense. And if they can keep their defense healthy and continue to get production out of Bobby Humphrey, I think they're right back in the playoff hunt.
Ray Berry into the game. Scott Studwell comes out. Sharp splits left. Elway puts it up for the first time. Incomplete. It was intended for Shannon Sharp. Audrey McMillan on the coverage, number 26.
One of the things the Broncos thought they could do was to split out a tight end, and number 81 Shannon Sharp is a tight end, and figured they were going to get a matchup with Joey Browner. Now Joey Browner is number 47. He doesn't cover him. It's Audrey McMillan, who's a cornerback, who covers the tight end. So that's not the matchup the Broncos had hoped for.
Michael Young to the left, Ricky Nattiel to the right. It's third down, 7 yards to go from the 35. Steve Sewell is in the game as well. They like to throw to him. Out of the shotgun, Elway has a lot of time. Goes long, all alone. He's got his man, Mark Jackson. He's inside the 30 to the 28-yard line. How did he break so clear? 37 yards.
He was opened by a good 10, 15 yards.
A 37-yard pickup. They mark it at the 28-yard line in Denver. Looking good in the early going.
Here's what happened. Jackson's right here, and he's going to come and get lost right in this area of the field. You have 3 receivers to the one side, and he gets just lost as 2 defenders cover the 1 receiver and left Mark Jackson wide open.
On first down, Humphrey breaks a tackle, has 5, gets outside, has 10 to the 20-yard line before he's run down by Darrell Fullington, the other safety, an 8-yard advance.
I think real good backs in the league have an ego, a belief that if you give them the ball, they're going to move the chains. And when you talk to Bobby Humphrey and you spend some time with him and you watch him play, he has that running back's ego that you need, because he does move the chains.
2nd and 2 from the 20. Mobley back in the game. Jackson splits wide left. Bratton and Humphrey, the running backs, behind Elway. He's going to throw for it. Once again, it's Jackson, and he's inside the 5, down to the 4-yard line. Fullington and Rutland on the stop. 16-yard pickup, and so far, Denver can do whatever they want.
Everything has worked, and what you're seeing now is a Denver team that is in rhythm. And rhythm and confidence are virtually everything, I think, in football. They're running the ball, and they're gaining 6-7 yards on first down. They're pass protecting for John Elway, and then they run play action, and guys get open.
Shannon Sharp splits wide to the right. First and goal. Humphrey hit at the line of scrimmage. He got absolutely nothing. Clark was in there, then Mike Merriweather finished him off.
The way this season has gone for the Minnesota Vikings, I think this is the time their defense really has to step forward and make a play. Because you're talking to Jerry Burns this week, he said it seems like we stand around waiting for something bad to happen. And there's Floyd Peters, the defensive coordinator. But Burns was saying, hey, we need to have something good to happen. Block a punt, intercept a pass, cause a fumble, and then turn around and score. But right now, the Broncos are driving on his defense.
Sharp wide left. Vance Johnson in the slot for that side. Elway rolls right. He's chased. He's in trouble. He throws it away to avoid the sack. Al Noga applied the pressure, and Elway very wisely dumped it out of bounds in the vicinity of Bratton, but really he threw that away.
Yeah, you know what happened? It was real nice coverage here by the Vikings because most teams inside the 10-yard line play a man-for-man defense. And the Denver Broncos had crossing routes trying to beat the man defense, but Minnesota switched up, went to a zone, and Joey Browner was standing right where John Elway wanted to throw the ball.
This is the 10th play of the drive, and it's 3rd and goal from the 4. Ricky Nattiel wide right. Michael Young splits left. It's shotgun time for Elway. Here they come. Did he get into the end zone? He may have run back out. That's what they're going to say.
He was in there for a while.
Jackson was in, but he came out on his own. I think it's going to be the ruling. Officials time out here. Now they're going to talk it over. Jerry Austin is our referee here, and he'll have to sort this out. And it's going to be 4th down and inches, and an early decision for Dan Reed.
Yeah, here's Mark Jackson right here. He runs into the end zone, but then comes back out. I think it's a pretty good call. He goes about 3 yards deep in the end zone. The ball is drilled. But see, then he comes back out. I don't think he really had possession in the end zone, and I think that's a good call.
They're going to go for it here, but now a whistle blows. Let's see what we've got. Maybe a review.
Possibly. Possibly. Take another look. I mean, this thing is a frozen rope. He wasn't open for long.
Now it's a touchdown. And now it isn't, right?
Well, all you have to have is possession
well,
into the end zone, but
I'm glad I don't have to call that baby.
Yeah, I think again, remember the replay rule. The replay has to show clearly and precisely that you should be overturned.
It's 4th down.
They're going to go for it.
After review of instant replay, the call stands on the field. It's 4th down.
So here we go, 4th and inches.
Oh.
Flags all over the place. Was he drawn off?
It was just a shift, I think, really.
Looked like a man going in motion, and well, we'll wait and let them sort it out.
Encroachment, defense, still 4th down.
There's the motion, and there's the man breaking.
Man, that's a clever little move when you get the ball moved 3 or 4 yards closer, but when you want it on the 1-inch yard line, it doesn't do you much good.
Elway's 215. He gives it to Bratton. I don't think so. On the ride over here, Pat, you said Minnesota needs a big play early, and they just got it. Merriweather.
And you're right, Skip, and just what Jerry Burns was talking about. We need somebody to step forward. We've been expecting bad things to happen. We need to make a play early, and Mike Merriweather does it right there.
So the Vikings go to work from the 1-yard line. We'll be back right after this.
The NFL on TNT is being brought to you by GMC Truck. It's not just a truck anymore. And by AT&T, the right choice.
Well, Rich Gannon finds himself in an unenviable spot. He threw 5 interceptions last week, really struggled, and he starts inches away from his own goal line. Herschel Walker and Rick Fenny are the running backs that are in there, 2 big backs to try to blast out of there. That's one way to look at it. Other times you'll just throw caution to the wind and throw a bomb.
Well, yeah, and you're right. Rich Gannon was the one saying, hey, we've got nothing to lose. We might as well just let it hang out and play. And it's also interesting to see Herschel Walker in the I formation.
Anthony Carter splits to the left. The give is to the up man, Fenny. Boy, he didn't get much. Warren Powers, Mark Munford were there on the stop.
You know, and the good defensive play on the 4th down by the Broncos, really almost a bobbled snap by John Elway, and that happens a lot down near the goal line when centers have a very difficult block. They have to what's called a reach block, snap the ball and reach way to their right or left, and sometimes the ball comes out low, and that's what looked like happened there.
Alfred Anderson into the game to replace Herschel Walker. Hassan Jones comes in as well. Again, Anthony Carter split left, Jones to the right. 2nd and 9, Gannon play action. He's going to throw. He's got time. He runs out of time. He throws it away.
That should be a safety.
That's what the Broncos are screaming for, but they're not getting any satisfaction. Yep. Greg Cragen was leading the rush there. It's just going to be 3rd and 9.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's not a safety. Again, not a bad call down here in the end zone, but a pretty good coverage. A zone team this Bronco team is. Now, the ruling for intentional ground is you have to be threatened to be sacked, which he was, and nobody in the vicinity. And I think both parts of the rule were there, yet they didn't call it.
Powers, along with Cragen, applying the pressure. Again, Anthony Carter to the left. Alan Rice has checked into the backfield. It's 3rd and a long 9. Gannon out of the shotgun and a whistle. Too much time. That's not going to cost him, but
delay a game,
half a foot.
After this is to the goal. Still 3rd down.
Perfect time to throw the ball deep when he's got the air conditioning at his back. You know, just let that air conditioning take it up. There's Wade Wilson, injured against the Chicago Bears, had surgery on his right thumb, and is still going to be out several more weeks.
3rd, and now let's make it 10. Jones in motion to the left. Gannon will throw for it, and the ball slips out of his hand. So it's 4th down and a very, very tough punt for Harry Newsom.
You know what happened to Rich Gannon there? He was getting ready to throw that ball, saw a defender, and tried to pull it back. It was kind of a half a throw. Yep, see? Tried to pull it back, so it looks like a horrible throw, but it probably saves an interception.
He did the right thing.
Yeah,
Makes him look bad, but it's better than throwing it. Look where Newsom is backed up. Kevin Clark, the return man, is already in Viking territory. 10 men on the line for Denver, and they're coming. But he gets it out of there, and a good kick. It drives him back to the 46. 45, and down he goes. Audrey McMillan on the stop again. 53-yard punt, a 9-yard return. Minnesota really needed that. No score. We'll be back after this from your local sponsors.
Well, intentional grounding is a judgment call, but I don't see why this cannot be a safety. He's under duress, Gannon is. The only one even close is an offensive lineman. And I think that should have been a safety. When you have a penalty in your own end zone, it's a safety, and the Broncos should be up by 2.
Mark Jackson splits wide to the right. Steve Sewell to the left. Bobby Humphrey, the running back, from the 45-yard line. No score. Elway to Humphrey. Punt, run down from behind by Dolman. He gained 1.
Yeah,
he is quick, isn't he?
He really is quick. And people say, hey, he's not having a great year. Well, I think that's baloney. Yeah, his sacks are down, but people are generally double teaming him. But watch how quick he gets off the ball, and he's not just a 3rd down player. He can play for you on 1st and 2nd down as well. And if you don't put a guy on him on the backside, he's still going to run down and make some plays.
Jackson again wide right, Sewell to the left. Second and 9. Again, Elway to put it up. He's in trouble. He is knocked ball back loose. Loose football. Let's see who got it.
Well, it's Dolman who knocked it loose, I'll tell you that. Say, Chris Dolman, the play before, stuffs the run from the backside. This time he beats Gerald Perry, goes all the way around him. Gerald Perry does a pretty good job of pushing him outside, and then he comes around for the backside and caused the fumble. And
Bobby Humphrey, I think, is the man who recovered it.
But you know, this thing about Dolman, that is his 17th fumble that he has caused in his career. And that's why you like to put him on the backside, because not only does he get to the quarterback, he causes fumbles.
3rd and 12. Whoops. Free play perhaps.
Throw it deeper.
That's what he does. Incomplete. It was intended for Michael Young. Let's check the penalty. Michael Brim was on the defensive cover.
A really good coverage by these Viking corners.
Offside defense, 99 and 97. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
Here's the replay. Two different styles of defense. The Vikings are bump and run, in your face, rush the passer type of defense, and they make plays like that. The Broncos are a much more of a zone team, lay back, but these corners, all of them for the Vikings, can get in your face and make a lot of plays.
Mathiel to the right, Young to the left. Sewell joins Elway in the backfield. It's 3rd down, 7 yards to go. Elway's going to run. 40, 30, 27-yard line. Reggie Redland covered him, but the ability, once again, of John Elway to do more than one thing.
You know, and Floyd Peters, the defensive coordinator, saying quarterback scrambles have been killing us. We're an all-out rush team. We can't put a defender on him. Randall Cunningham ran for 90 yards. And again, when you're playing a lot of man-for-man defense, as Minnesota likes to do, the scramble or quarterback draw, anything you want, may be the most effective play in football.
Humphrey and Bratton, the deep man. It's Humphrey. Fights across the 25, down to the 24-yard line. Ken Clark, the 13-year man out of Syracuse, among those on the stop, along with Darrell Fullington.
You know, Skip, sooner or later, if Elway continues to do that, they're going to have to, the Vikings are going to have to dedicate one player for that, you know, that spy technique we saw earlier in the year when the Giants did it against Randall Cunningham. You have to take one player and say, okay, your responsibility is to try to take the scramble away from John Elway.
2nd down, 8 yards to go from the 24-yard line. We have 5:35 left in the first quarter. Vance Johnson wide right. Mark Jackson splits left. Draw play. Inside the 20, down to the 18. Steve Sewell, who normally catches him, this time runs with the football.
Yeah, you know, Steve Sewell is a unique player, and the Broncos use him in unique ways. #1 draft pick in 1984 out of Oklahoma, and he was a running back there, but they've used him primarily as a receiver. He runs draws. He's a good blocker. He's done just about everything for the Broncos in his career.
It's 3rd and 2. Mathiel and Young check back into the lineup. 4 wide receivers. They go trips left, do the Broncos on 3rd and 2. For Sewell. He's got a ways to go. 6-yard line. Parley made the stop, but a 12-yard pickup, a little swing pass, and it's 1st and goal again for Denver. They were down there once before, got nothing out of it.
You know, some guys just fit the role they're asked to do so well, like Dave Meggett with the Giants. Well, Steve Sewell is very much like that for the Broncos. We saw him run the play earlier. That time he comes out of the backfield on a little swing pass when they need 2 yards. Makes a nice catch for the 1st down. He'll block when you have to.
Denver is yet to throw on 1st down. Will they here? It's 1st and goal at the 6. Vance Johnson wide to the left. Shannon Sharp in motion from the right. He's going to throw if he can. Bratton, but he's run out of bounds at the 4-yard line. Boy, what a big play that was. Scott Studwell made the stop, the veteran middle linebacker.
Yeah, you know, here's the guy, Scott Studwell, who's got about 2,000 tackles in his 14-year career. And this is the matchup you always want, a back against a middle linebacker in a 4-3 defense, but Studwell did a nice job of keeping him. He used the boundary as a defender, took away the inside because Bratton wanted to cut back inside, and makes the play.
That was his 1,928 NFL tackle.
Oh, way to correct me. I said 2000.
Oh, did you? I wasn't listening.
You and millions of others.
Johnson in motion. Elway throws for him. Touchdown. Vance Johnson from 4 yards out. Officially a 3-yard touchdown pick. And I'll tell you who gets or should get a lot of credit for that Denver touchdown is their defense. After they blew the 4th and inches, the defense kept them controlled, got them back good field position.
Yeah, they really did. And again, this was a very nice drive. We had the scramble by John Elway. They ran the ball. They had a couple of draws to Sewell. Sewell caught a short pass. And then Bobby Humphrey right there throws the block so we can get the pass out to Vance Johnson, who catches his first touchdown of the year.
David Treadwell. Oh, holding it, it's blocked. That will add more life. Tim Irwin got the block. That'll add a little life to a dispirited Minnesota team. So it's a 6-0 ball game with 3 minutes, 21 seconds remaining in the first half. There's the guy who did the deed. And we'll be back right after this. Highest price kick returner in football, Herschel Walker, stands at the 2-yard line. David Treadwell will kick it off. But the kick heads for the side, and Rice comes away with it at the 10. And reaches the 26-yard line. Elliott Smith, the defensive back on special teams, made the stop. Pretty good field position for Minnesota, a lot better than last time.
Well, you know, you saw the touchdown to Vance Johnson, but this was really the play that kept it alive. And this is the type of play that really has broken Minnesota's back a couple times this year. They've given up over 220 yards in rushing by quarterbacks this season.
Hassan Jones wide to the left. Rick Fenney, Alfred Anderson are the running backs behind Rich Gannon. Anderson in motion. The pitch is no match. Look at Fenney across the 30, close to the 35-yard line before he's knocked down.
There's a guy, Rick Fenney, who knows his strengths and he also knows his limitations. He is an inside runner. You never see him try to dip out and delude himself into thinking that he's going to go 77 yards down the sideline. He's always keeping the legs moving, and he's a terrific tackle-to-tackle runner.
Second down, a yard to go. Anthony Carter splits wide left. Hassan Jones to the right. This time it's Fenney in motion, and the give is to Anderson, and he pops through for a first down up to about the 38-yard line.
You know, Skip, when we were getting ready for this game, I was saying, you know, why are these teams struggling so much this year? And I think we talked about Minnesota's defense. That's been their problem. I think with Denver, it's been defense as well. You see they're way up in points allowed. Last year they led the NFL in points allowed, and that's the most glaring statistic. And they've only picked off 5 balls. That's interceptions that they've had. Only 5 interceptions because of all the injuries in the defensive secondary.
Anthony Carter wide left. Pressure by Mecklenburg, and down he goes. Out of the University of Minnesota, Carl Mecklenburg, playing before the home folks, gets the sack. Boy, he has been a fine player for many years.
You know, here's a guy who's played 7 different positions on defense. And every one they've asked him, he's been effective. He's played inside, outside. He's played nose tackle some. Only his 2nd sack of the year, but he's a guy that if you ask him to do something and you just line him up and let him play, he's going to make a lot of defensive stops for you.
Loss of 11, Chris Carter into the game, wide right. Anthony Carter and Hassan Jones to the left. Rick Fenney, the lone running back. And they keep it on the ground. Fenney on the sweep doesn't get much. He's drilled at the 30. Mecklenburg was in on that too, along with Greg Cragen.
Well, you know, the Vikings have run that pitch sweep a couple of times. They believe that they can fake that action at some point later on in the game and get the ball deep. So again, the sequencing of plays, they're trying to establish something here and set up to do something else later on in the game.
Let me ask you a question. I know how you feel about quarterbacks, that if a guy's your quarterback, you got to stick with him. What about with running backs? Can you keep substituting? Running backs say, I can't get in the flow unless I get 20, 25 carries.
Particularly if you have an I back like Herschel Walker. I think if you're going to make a decision, we're going to play the I formation or have a guy like Herschel, you have to give him the ball. They do have to get into a rhythm.
3rd and 17. Gannon in trouble, and down he goes again, way back at the 25-yard line. This This time it was David Galloway out of the University of Florida who made the stop.
Just a start that Jerry Burns did not want to have happen tonight. He was looking for something big to happen. The defense came up with an early big play, but Randall McDaniel right there, number 64, just got beaten very quickly by David Galloway.
So back to punt is Harry Newsom. He got a fine kick away his first time. Kevin Clark, who just joined this Denver team, is the deep man. A man gets out there late for Denver.
That's this Bobek. Tell this guy to come in.
Oh, and McCann's going to run it. And he's not going to come anywhere near making it. Boy, could Minnesota have used a timeout. They were totally confused. Randy Robbins forced it as the quarter comes to a close.
Unbelievable. Carey Porter was the first guy in there, number 31. Number 31 forces the punt. Remember, he had the same thing happened against the Chicago Bears in the fourth quarter. That's why the Vikings ended up losing that game. And again, their offense and special teams have had a problem.
Back after this from your local sponsors. Well, there's two ways, I guess, to look at this thing. If Denver had cashed in on all the chances they'd have, the lights would be out already in the Metrodome. Yeah. But by the same token, with all their travails, Minnesota down only 6-0, but they're backed up again here, and Jerry Burns not a happy camper.
Yeah, and again, his defense has to carry the load, come up with some sort of event, negative play, a sack, a fumble, get the crowd back into it.
Humphrey and Bratton are the running backs as Elway goes to work from the 24. He's going to throw for it. He's got a man all alone. It's Bratton inside the 20, inside the 15. Run out of bounds at about the 13 by Mike Merriweather. Let's look at the punt play again.
Yeah, here's Carey Porter right here. Nobody even really blocks him. Now, remember, Denver is a team that really lost a game by special teams against the Buffalo Bills, but tonight their special teams are doing quite the job. Nobody even came close to blocking Carey Porter, and then Randy Robbins made the tackle.
First down, 10 yards to go for Denver. Elway with an audible. He gives, it's Bratton, and he pulls his way down close to the 7-yard line. Darrell Fullington, the safety out of the University of Miami, made the stop, but another good advance to former teammates. You know, Fullington and Bratton hooked up on that play.
You mentioned the audible. I thought that was kind of interesting because even when the Broncos audible to a run, which they did there, the wide receivers moved, they changed their split. And I think when the defenses see wide receivers move on an audible, they think pass. And then Denver came right back with a run. It's a nice changeup.
Sewell wide to the right on 2nd and 5. The give. Inside the 2-yard line. Should be enough for another first down and a 1st and goal situation. Ray Berry and Darrell Fullington the stop. Excuse me, Pat.
Bobby Humphrey just has wonderful anticipation of where people are going to be on the field. We're talking about him reading blocks, just a sense of where his blocker is going to be and on which side he should run of that blocker. Really, as everybody talks about vision, and it means different things for different runners. For him, with following blocks.
There goes Humphrey on a sweep. Cuts inside, is drilled. Ray Berry come up and put a lick on him, along with Ken Stills, when it looked like he was on his way to the end zone.
Well, have the Vikings played good goal line defense tonight thus far? Unfortunately, they've had to. But that time, Ray Berry came screaming across the defense to put the lick on Bobby Humphrey.
So it's 2nd down, just outside the 1-yard line. 12:35 remaining in the first half. Floyd Peters agonizes as he looks on.
Yeah, if they're coming that hard, play action has got to be wide open.
Humphrey in motion. Up the middle, touchdown. It was Bratton. And it's 12-0. It looked like sending Humphrey in motion sort of froze the linebackers, and Bratton had little trouble getting in there.
You're right, just the moment of indecision. You see one guy going motion, you see 2 or 3 Vikings to move, they shift in the line, a defensive back has to move. and they run right in behind where there were 2 or 3 defensive adjustments. That's a nicely set up play by the Broncos.
Let's see how David Treadwell fares this time. No problemo. It's 13-0. Denver has the early lead. We'll be back to the Metrodome right after this. Broncos, a happy group of campers, as you see. Well, they might be. They lead early, 13-0. There's your deep man, Herschel Walker.
Really been an enigma this season. Almost like he's on the outside of the team. It really is almost on the outside. All his teammates talking about it, answering questions about his performance. David Treadwell kicks it off. And Herschel will have a chance to bring this one back from the 4. He gets to the 30. Scott Curtis, a reserve linebacker, makes the stop. 26-yard return. And the Vikings need to get something on the board here. Yeah, you know, as you look at Herschel Walker, he'd be the last guy you'd think would have trouble transferring his skills from the collegiate level into the pros. Here's a guy, believe it or not, who's 25 pounds heavier than O.J. Simpson, for example, and ran the 100, maybe 0.3 of a second faster, but you wouldn't mistake him for that. And he just needs to be a featured back. It's not going to happen here in Minnesota, and I'd be very surprised if he's back here next year. Penny and Anderson are the running backs for Gannon. Play action. He wants to get some of it back. And it's intercepted by the Broncos. It's Alton Montgomery. Montgomery inside the 30-yard line. Anthony Carter made the stop, but a 23-yard return by Montgomery. And they are not recognizing Booth Powell here in the Metrodome. They are booing their Vikings. Well, it started out actually for Rich Gannon with some pretty good protection after the play-action fake. And clearly there had to be some miscommunication because there was no receiver anywhere near that pass. And Alton Montgomery, who's ordinarily a safety playing corner for Denver, gets a nice little catch and a play on the ball. So Elway goes to work again with Shannon Sharp in motion, and the give. It's Humphrey, and he breaks it. Down to the 12-yard line. Hanging on to pull him down, Darrell Fullington. Now, this is a very fragile team, I think, in the Minnesota Vikings. And very fragile in the sense that I thought they had to get off to a good start tonight. My favorite fans. And it obviously has not happened. It can easily break, and it can really turn south quickly for these guys tonight. Once again, it's first down for Elway and the Broncos. Shannon Sharp in motion. Humphrey again inside the 10. He got a couple of yards, no more than that. He now has 48 on the night in 11 carries. By the way, the Minnesota team is -2 in total yards on the night. Yeah. Some of that's been awfully good defense, and some of it's just been very poor offense. You get in a situation like this, your team is 1-6, and you're down by 13 points. All you can think about is the next play. Don't worry about what's going to happen next quarter or next week, but just the next play. Second down, 8 yards to go. Shannon Sharp again in motion. Elway's going to throw for it. Down the middle, has a man at the 6-yard line. It was Sharp, and he's pulled down there by Scott Studwell. He's well short of the first down, and a third down is the result. And both teams make changes. The nickel package in for Minnesota, and fresh wide receivers in for the Broncos. It's third and about 5. 10-10 left in our first half. In years past, this was always a throwing down for the Broncos. Not as much so anymore. Elway doesn't like what he sees and calls a timeout. He has Steve Sewell in the backfield with him, and he normally in these third down situations likes to go to him. We'll see what's what when we come back. It's 3rd and 5. We'll be back after this from your local sponsors. Okay, third down, 5 yards to go for Denver. Boy, they have had the ball all night.
Out of the shotgun, by the way. Elway's 3 out of 3 for 52 yards. But he's not. Yes, he is in the shotgun right now, and he does have Sewell in the backfield with him. He rolls right.
Oh, we have Mark Jackson open.
Oh, the ball is knocked away. Let's see who they give it to. It's still Denver's ball. Darrell Pullington knocked it away, but knocked it out of bounds, according to the official. And so Denver, very fortunate, and Elway comes up limping, and Denver will try for 3 points, and suddenly the game may have changed.
Boy, I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to see receivers up here than it is when you're chasing guys around, but Mark Jackson was wide open in the back of the end zone, and this is why guys, I think, hate playing on AstroTurf. I think you get a lot more of these kind of injuries, little ankles and knee injuries, but a big body. I think it was Ken Clark just fell on John Elway's ankle.
So Treadwell will try to tack 3 points on the board. And we'll try to get a report on the severity of Elway's injury. Now they may review all this, for play has been halted. It'll be a 31-yard field goal if in fact one is tried.
It's kind of a neat little play. They were faking a quarterback draw on the play, and then Elway scrambled to the right, and Mark Jackson ran to the back of the end zone, was open, but Elway was getting chased and didn't see him. In the slot on the bottom of the screen, right here is Mark Jackson. He's going to be wide open over here. See the fake on the quarterback draw? He's open right now.
Boy, is he ever.
Yeah, Elway was looking outside, and Mark Jackson just did not run into his vision.
After review, the play stands, and the field goal will be attempted. Treadwell tries from 31 yards. It's plenty long enough, and it's good, and Denver pads its lead to 16-0. We have 9:45 remaining in the first half, and the Vikings have yet to answer their wake-up call. We'll be back.
The NFL on TNT is being brought to you by Nissan, built for the human race, and by Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, the cruise line sponsor of Turner Sports.
Herschel Walker, the deep man. There's your score, the time remaining, and Treadwell will kick it off. And he booms a good kick out of there. Walker in the end zone will bring it up. Across the 20 to the 25-yard line. Kip Corrington, a reserve safety, on the stop, and so the Vikings go to work from their 25 down by 16 points. If the crowd was ever in this game, it's totally out of it now, and like we say again, Minnesota has to get something going soon.
Yeah, and somebody has to step forward, and it's usually the quarterback. It's got to be a guy like Rich Gannon. You can't wait for the other guy to do it. You got to say, hey, I'm going to make a play.
Walker and Finney are the running backs. Two big backs in there. Anthony Carter wide to the right, Hassan Jones to the left. Jones in motion. Walker on a sweep. Gets about 3. Scott Curtis in on the stop along with Dennis Smith. Boy, they have some safeties, don't they? Dennis Smith and Steve Atwater, two good ones.
Yeah, the Broncos, really, that is the strength of this defense, is it right down the middle. Greg Cragen, the nose tackle, then the safeties Atwater and Dennis Smith. And if you're going to have a good football team, a good defensive team, I think you have to be strong down the middle. It starts with a nose tackle, and then you need good safeties.
Walker is out of the game, replaced by a wide receiver on 2nd and 7 from the 28. Gannon puts it up. He and Finney got their wires crossed. Nobody near. It's 3rd and 7. Gannon in his 4th year out of Delaware. That's sort of misleading because he's played so little.
Yeah, really up until 5 weeks ago, he had not started a game in the NFL. He was saying yesterday, you put in so much preparation and so much time getting ready for these. It's almost like every game is a season, and it just kills you when you lose. He said, I finally get my opportunity, and it's just killing me that we're losing.
He's 0 for 4. He's thrown an interception. He's been sacked twice for 16 yards. Possession play for Minnesota out of the shotgun. Hassan Jones in motion. Here come the Broncos. He runs for his life. He unloads, and it's complete to Carter for a first down. Anthony Carter made a heck of a play.
How many times over the years when the Vikings have needed a big play has Anthony Carter been the guy they've gone to? And we're just talking about what they needed was somebody to step forward and make a play. Gannon makes a pretty good play here too, as Atwater was blitzing him. And then Anthony Carter makes the catch and takes a pretty good pop.
Finney and Alfred Anderson check back into the Minnesota scheme of things. Carter to the right. Hassan Jones to the left. First down, their second of the night. Finney in motion. Pitch play. Anderson gets nothing. There's Atwater out of the secondary to spill him for a loss. He came into the game with 77 tackles. A 2-yard loss at 2nd and 12. Atwater out of Arkansas, 217-pounder. He can hit.
Yeah, he is just a great player. I mean, we've seen him blitz the quarterback just to play before. Then he makes a tackle. He can cover a back out of the backfield. He can play deep center field for you. All the things that free safety has to do in the NFL today, play in open space and such, Steve Atwater can do.
So it's 2nd and 12 at the 40-yard line for the Vikes. Carter to the right, Jones to the left. Alfred Anderson in motion this time. Gannon looks, and he's hit and dropped. Simon Fletcher came pouring in, the 6-year man out of Houston. That's his 5th sack of the year. And Gannon is sacked for the 3rd time tonight.
Yeah, Simon Fletcher is one of the quiet players in the NFL you don't hear much about, but the last 2 years he's played well. Just a little stunt confused the offensive line of the Vikings, and that really is not a big stunt. That should be easily picked up. There wasn't 2 offensive linemen, went after one guy, and it left Simon Fletcher wide open.
Chris Carter back into the game. He goes wide left.
It's Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos.
3rd and 17. Gannon's got a little time this time. Still looking. Still looking. He should have a man open. He does. Carter. 40. 30. Out of bounds. You give him that much time, it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
And watch Anthony Carter. Again, they're not throwing the ball to him as much as they used to. But when they do, he's been awfully productive. He was open early, but the rush prevented anybody. I've never seen a guy that open, quite honestly, for that long. Yeah, there's a guy who knows how to get open and knows what to do with it after he catches it.
38-yard advance. Anthony Carter out for a blow. First down for Gannon. Pitch back, Herschel Walker, it's a reverse. Running with the ball, Chris Carter, and he's run out of bounds at the 19-yard line. Atwater ran him out. 5:44 remaining in the first half from the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Pat Haden, Skip Carey with you. Sunday Night Football on TNT. It's 16-0. Denver has the lead, but the Vikings are driving.
And again, the Vikings just trying to get anything going now. They figure when Herschel's in the I formation, they're going to try to give him the ball. Gannon throws the block for Chris Carter. And they pick up about 8 yards. That's the kind of plays they need tonight. Something, a halfback pass, anything to get them going.
Hassan Jones in motion. The give. Anderson breaks it inside the 15, knocked down at the 13-yard line. And Minnesota with the 2/3 and longs they've converted. Suddenly it's breathed life into them. Michael Brooks was there on the tackle along with Warren Power.
This was really an important drive for this Minnesota team. And I think for a couple of reasons. One, so they just show people they're not going to lay over and die. And two, I think it's awfully important for that man, Rich Gannon. Because I think at some point you have to say, hey, when do I go to the backup? Right now, Jerry Burns says, hey, Rich Gannon's doing the job, and we're going to stay with him.
Anderson and Finney are the running backs. Anthony Carter back in the game. He's slotted to the left. Pass on Jones in motion. Gannon to throw. Has a man, overthrew him. Anthony Carter was out there, but the pass was too tall. Atwater on the coverage.
Now, the Vikings don't like to feature any player, and again, that's part of the issue with Herschel Walker, but when you think about where they are, maybe this is a guy, Anthony Carter, they ought to try to get the ball to a little bit more, because every time they've thrown the ball to him tonight or his direction, he's been open.
The obvious question to me is, if you don't want to feature anybody, why do you make a deal for Herschel Walker?
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, they knew what they were getting, an eye back who needs the ball 30 times a game.
Jones right, Carter left. Anthony Carter. Anderson in motion. Pitch to Finney. Finney at the 15. Breaks a tackle and gets down to the 4-yard line.
You know,
what a move he made.
And Skip, I love to see this, because here you have a desperate team at 1-6. They're not going to the playoffs. They're down by 16 points, and they can lay over and die, but they aren't. And again, we talked about Rick Finney being a good short yardage runner or inside runner because he is always moving his legs. He gets low, his shoulder pads low to keep people away from his legs, and then he spins and keeps those legs a-churning.
Third down, a yard to go. Finney, touchdown.
Some guys just have that inside runner's mindset, and Finney's one of those guys. He kind of hunts up those safeties, looks for those safeties so that he can run over them, and that's what he did just right there.
Alton Montgomery on the receiving end. Igwebuike will try the extra point. And that is good, and the score changes to 16-7. The Vikings are still alive in Minneapolis. We'll be back after this from your local sponsors. "11 plays, 75 yards. It took 6:04. Minnesota had the ball for just 4:41 on their first 3 possessions. Fuad Ruvez will kick it off to Kevin Clark, number 20, and Alton Montgomery, number 22. There's Ruvez out of Bogota, Colombia, and the University of Tennessee. 16-7 our score. Kevin Clark at the 3. Uh-oh. One man to beat, and he's got a blocker. He cut back, and it may have cost him a touchdown, but what a return. Inside the 35-yard line, Reggie Rutland made a saving tackle, a 63-yard kick return by a guy who's just been on the team for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you know, they cut him in the preseason, went up to the Canadian League and played there for a while, and then they called him back. And he returned punts for him in their last game and had a big day returning punts, and here on the kickoff return. So it's been the special teams tonight for Denver, which have been particularly good, I think, Skip. And remember, the special teams killed them against the Buffalo Bills when they gave a game away to the Bills earlier in the year.
John Elway is back in the game. Look at this. Orson Mobley out wide to the left. Pitch back, Humphrey. Mobley threw a block for him, and Humphrey reaches the 32. Let's look at the return again. Ray Berry ran him out of bounds.
Well, you know, he really did get some good blocking up front. There was just a lane immediately. There weren't any bodies around that had a chance to even nick him until he already gotten past the 50-yard line.
So if he hadn't made the cut, Alton Montgomery might have been able to throw a block that would have sprung him down the sideline. But it's very easy to see that.
Yeah, when was the last time you returned a kickoff for a touchdown?
You must be kidding.
Wow. Yeah, that is the telling story right there. Field position.
2nd and 7. Flags fly. Were they drawn off? We shall see. The Broncos point one way. The Vikings point the other.
Encroachment, number 97 of the defense. 5
Broncos
yards.
were right.
Still 2nd down.
That's
John
Henry
Randall.
Thomas.
Was it Thomas?
Yeah.
Or Randall?
I think he said 97, right there on the nose tackle. Again, it happens sometimes because Minnesota is such a pass rush team. They virtually rush the passer on any down. And they figure, hey, we don't really want to stop the run. We're going to stop the run on the way to the quarterback. And sometimes you can draw them off sides because of that aggressive style.
2nd and 2 for the Broncos. Shannon Sharp in motion again. Humphrey, first down. Close to the 20-yard line.
Well, what a nice block by Jim Juriga, the left guard. And again, Bobby Humphrey reading that trap block. Again, Juriga's right here. He's going to come in and trap this man. And again, watch how Bobby Humphrey just follows that block. Sees there's a little hole, see right inside, and just follows that block beautifully.
And we are nearing the 2-minute warning, and John Elway, walking gingerly, is already headed toward the bench. And we'll talk things over with Dan Reeves as the 2-minute warning is upon us. And you don't often see Reeves smiling in the middle of a game, but he's yucking it up here.
Must be listening to those books on tape on that headset. Yeah.
16-7, we'll be back. Coming up at halftime, it's the Nissan Halftime Report. Ernie Johnson Jr. and Ken Stabler bring you highlights from today's NFL action, plus another Rye Ryden original.
Ryden has an interesting feature in the locker rooms, which I know you can't wait to see at halftime.
Absolutely.
A very important series here for a defensive series for the Vikings. Down 16-7, just beginning to feel decent about themselves. They got to prevent Denver from scoring before half.
Vance Johnson splits to the left. Jackson in motion. Jackson on a reverse, has to cut inside. Dolman was there to make the play.
Yeah, Chris Dolman, we've seen him run guys down from behind, cause fumbles. There he stays at home when they try to run the reverse.
Timeout is called by the Vikings. 1:52 left. We'll be back.
That's Floyd Peters, the defensive coordinator of the Vikings, who just had Joey Browner a moment ago over on the sideline saying, hey, watch the quarterback draw, watch the quarterback scramble. Somebody's got a spy on Elway.
6 defensive backs in the game for Minnesota on 2nd and 10. Denver knocking at the door again. Shotgun for Elway. Sewell, he's going to throw back toward Elway. But he threw it incomplete, and it's a good thing because Browner would have really leveled it.
Well, Floyd Peters had guessed it right, and Browner was the guy on John Elway. And not a bad call, again, when you have generally man-for-man defense down here. Usually the quarterback's wide open, but Peters just a few moments earlier had said, watch the quarterback draw. Somebody take care of Elway.
Reminded me of games we played as kids. You throw a button hook behind the Nissan and wait for the pass. 3rd and 10.
Were you ever a receiver?
Not often. Elway in trouble. He is sacked at the 25. Chris Dolman again. Boy, he is sacked. 3rd sack against Elway.
A lot of people are wondering, hey, the Vikings are out of it. They're 1-6. Are guys going to quit? And Elway gets up limping again. But
yeah, he's hurt.
Left to the screen, number 56. No quit in Chris Dolman tonight or any night.
But an offsides against the Vikes negates that.
Yeah, the most important thing is Elway comes up limping again. And an ankle injury stays with you the entire year.
Offside, 5 yards. Repeat, 3rd down.
Yeah, that's another nice play, though, by Chris Dolman. And again, here comes Kubiak.
Gary Kubiak's going to come into the game for the year. The veteran is 3 out of 3 for 34 yards. He's an 8-year man out of Texas A&M.
Yeah, one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL because he prepares virtually like a starting quarterback. Mentally tough and prepares as if he's going to be the guy every week.
He's got a 3rd and 5 from the 16 with 1:41. And he's going to put it up right away. And it's intercepted. And a lateral. And Merriweather runs. He's still on his feet. But now another lateral. Browner. They're losing yardage. And they're back close to the 50.
from the Stanford band. Remember that play Cal ran a few years ago?
Yes.
Wow. Again, Floyd Peters, give the defense some credit here of the Minnesota Vikings. You know, they're getting threatened to be scored on again right before the halftime. And then Carl Lee makes a play, trying to make something happen, pitches the ball to Merriweather. Back to Browner. Again, it is developing one of those games you used to play as a kid on the front lawn.
They lost 8 yards on all those laterals, but they had a lot of fun, and they have the ball back.
Didn't look like he's having that much fun.
1:27 left in the first half. Alan Rice and Rick Finney are the running back. Gannon out of the shotgun. He'll put it up. He's got pressure, and he's sacked inside the 5-yard line. Simon Fletcher got there first. Al Noga second. 4th sack of Gannon.
Simon Fletcher has had a very, very good first half rushing the passer, and generally what they like is the matchup Simon Fletcher against a back. But twice tonight, he has beaten Tim Irwin quickly and gotten into Rich Gannon's face. Denver calls a timeout, which is the right call on 2nd and long. They want to force a punt, try to block it perhaps.
Or try to pick off yet another interception. They have one of those tonight. Elway heads for the locker room.
We talked about those ankle injuries, and
you know, it's either an ankle or it could be that turf toe stuff. I know that sounds silly, but he did sort of stub his toe the first time he heard it. And on this junk,
yeah,
you can get those kind of things.
Take another look at the interception here by Kubiak. There's a lot of people in his face. That's the first thing. Interceptions generally are caused by a pass rush, and then Carl Lee just read the pattern pretty well, but wasn't a good throw because of the pass rush.
So it's 2nd and 22.
Don't turn the ball over here. Can't turn the ball over here.
Gannon back to the shotgun. He stands on the goal line. And he gives it to Rice, and he gets only to the 8-yard line. Alan Rice with the carry. He's a big guy. Out of Baylor, 205 pounds.
And Denver will definitely get the ball back if they hold them here on 3rd and long. 1:06 remaining in the half. They still have a timeout. And remember, they've already forced their punter to run with it once.
You see the time remaining. It's 3rd and 19. Let's see if Gannon stays conservative here. And he does, and it's Finney, and he gets to the 10, maybe the 11-yard line. Timeout called by Denver, their final timeout. And they'll get one last chance to get more here before halftime. Harry Newsom will come in to kick it away. And Kevin Clark will be deep.
Yeah, Steve Atwater coming off the field after a little bit of an injury. Watch the way he plays. Again, he's going to make plays at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. He'll play pass defense for you. He takes on backs, makes plays. I mean, he just looks like an athlete. I mean, he's the guy if you're a quarterback or a kicker, you want to get off the bus next to him because you look like a better player standing next to Steve Atwater.
Kevin Clark will stand at his own 43. There's Newsom. He's a good one.
Well, I don't know. He's had a problem on his net average, and again against Chicago, he had to eat a punt, dropped a punt, and then we saw him in this game. It really wasn't his fault. The protection didn't hold up for him.
34 seconds left. 10 men on the line for Denver. The kick away, and there's nothing wrong with this one. Clark fields it on the 38. He's in a lot of trouble at the 40-yard line. Audrey McMillan covered again. 51-yard punt, only a 1-yard return. Say, the NBA on TNT continues this Tuesday, beginning with the Celtics and Bulls, followed by the Hawks taking on the Kings. Then on Friday, another doubleheader, the Cavaliers and Pacers matchup. followed by the world champion Pistons against the Portland Trail Blazers. Both nights get underway at 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
Well, I'll tell you, the way this first half started, the Minnesota Vikings and Jerry Burns have to be delighted that they should go in at halftime trailing 16-7. Because it really could have been a lot larger margin.
Kubiak out of the shotgun. Frankly, I'm surprised they don't just kneel on it.
And he's still running it.
He puts it up. He rolls left. He has a man. It's complete to Jackson inside the 50, but the clock continues to roll.
Kubiak took a shot there too and got up very slowly.
And the half will come to a close right here. We are at halftime. Denver has the lead, but Minnesota is showing signs of life. The Nissan halftime report coming up. But first, this from your local sponsors.
The Nissan Halftime Report is being brought to you by Nissan, built for the human race.
They have played 30 minutes at the Metrodome, and the Denver Broncos have a 16-7 lead over the Minnesota Vikings. This is the Nissan Halftime Report. I'm Ernie Johnson, along with the Snake, Ken Stabler. And one of the stories of Week 9 of the NFL season, the San Francisco 49ers, still unbeaten. They can fall behind. They just never get rattled. What's it going to take for somebody to beat this bunch?
Well, if you remember early in the season on the Monday night opener that New Orleans gave them a hard time because they got in Montana's face, bringing a lot of linebackers. People are still trying to do that, but when you do that, you have to play man-to-man coverage, and that leaves Rice one-on-one outside.
Well, the Packers were playing them tough for a while today. In fact, Green Bay had a 10-0 lead at one point in this game, but Joe Montana goes back to work with the man you talked about.
Well, just what we talked about. You get that matchup, and what makes him so dangerous is what we see right here. Once he gets the ball in the secondary, he's got that great speed, and Montana just sees the field so well.
24-20, the Niners come back and win it. The Falcons lose at Pittsburgh 21-9. The LA Rams needed a win badly against Houston today and got it. Big play late. The Rams a little slow counting their Mississippis here. Moon's got all kind of time, but can't get it done.
Well, he sees him real late, Ernie, and the ball hangs in the air, and Bobby Humphrey over to save for the win.
And that preserves the 17-13 Ram victory. Meantime, the Saints handed the Bengals another loss, 21-7 at Riverfront. Washington and Detroit, this was a wild game and a great performance by Jeff Rutledge in relief.
Off the bench for a 300-yard passing day. Here, the quarterback draw for a touchdown.
That tied it at 38. They won it in OT by 3. The Bears all over the Bucks, 26-6. The Raiders and Kansas City Chiefs, special teams, again, the name of the game.
Well, it's their 5th block punt of the year for Kansas City. Like you say, special teams getting it done, playing great D, and DeBerg's having a solid year.
That led to one of 3 Nick Lowry field goals, and it was 9-7 Kansas City. San Diego with a 31-14 win over the Seahawks. Dallas Cowboys and New York Jets. The story of this game was the first-year man, Terrence Mathis. He played his college ball at New Mexico, ran 3 kickoffs back for touchdowns his senior year to tie an NCAA record. Today, he ties an NFL record with a 98-yard punt return for a score. The Jets, 24-9 over the Dallas Cowboys. Meantime, the Bills humiliate the Browns, 42-0. And the New England Patriots and Philadelphia Eagles, the Randall Cunningham show.
Well, there's not many quarterbacks that can turn a busted play. Right here, watch the back. The back goes one way, Cunningham the other. What does he do with it? He takes it 53 yards down the sideline. He had 124 yards rushing today and 240 yards passing. Big day for Cunningham.
And 4 touchdown passes, 2 of those to Keith Jackson. Also, the Phoenix Cardinals and Miami Dolphins, absolutely no trouble for that Dolphin D, 23-3 over the Phoenix Cardinals. As the Nissan Halftime Report continues, it's time for another Paul Ryden original. If you've ever wondered exactly what it's like in an NFL locker room, Paul's going to let you know after this.
The regular season. I'm out of music. Why don't you just come to me here? There you go. This looks like a pretty peaceful place, doesn't it? An NFL locker room. And yet these dressing rooms have been in the center of the biggest controversy in the NFL this year so far. Who did what to whom, who should be allowed in, so on and so forth. Well, I'm not here to rehash that whole situation, but what I do want to do is this. I want to bring you inside a real live NFL locker room after a game just to see what all the excitement's about. Hey, you've probably never been in one, so let's go back 1 week ago tonight.
The Falcons have just beaten the Bengals. The combatants shake hands, then head off to the locker room. We wait outside for a while as the players cool off, or in the case of the Falcons a couple of weeks ago, try to figure out how to shower and dry off when your locker room is a couple inches deep in backed up sewage water. At last, we're granted access. First, for an intimate little chat with the coach, who incidentally is wearing pants.
Great team effort.
Then it's on to the players, if you can hear them.
Now here's where it gets interesting. Players in various stages of undress talk to guys like me, who are, like the coaches incidentally, wearing pants.
It was a great victory. The Falcons are a team that hustle a lot. I'm just happy to be back playing, really.
What is the dumbest question you've ever gotten in a locker room post-game interview?
Well, first day they said, why'd you chuck the ball? What happened? How's that win feel, or how's it feel to lose? Dumb questions.
Maybe it's the dumb questions, maybe it's the male-female issue, but some have suggested that the locker room be closed to reporters.
Hey, that's fine with me, since I've never known what to ask a 225-pound man who's just fumbled away his team's chance for victory. Hey, call me a wimp, but a wimp on a deadline.
So it's back to the press box, which at this point sounds like a room full of tap-dancing hamsters. Here in their own version of a 2-minute drill, reporters file their stories for the morning edition. In the case of a night game like this, you'll read the quotes first, then watch them on the news Monday night to see what the players looked like when they said whatever it was they said. In any event, you'll forget them by Tuesday.
Now, is there a better way to do all this? To more fairly allow access to all reporters, to give them substance and still provide a measure of dignity and respect for a player's privacy?
Perhaps questions and answers in a coach's column in the local paper. How about a 900 number so fans can ask the questions directly? Maybe interviews with people who look like football players who can answer questions the way a player might answer them. Is there a better way to get post-game quotes? Better than fighting crowds? Better than pushing deadlines? Better than sweating in a noisy room full of 45 partially clad men? Better than asking the same old questions?
No.
If there was a better way, believe me, we would do it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nissan Halftime Report. The stadium show portion of it, live from Minneapolis at 16-7, right now in favor of the Denver Broncos, leading the Minnesota Vikings. Brett Hickman, Kevin Kiley. And Kevin, what about the Minnesota offense? We've been waiting to see what Herschel Walker was going to do. Your impressions of his performance, or lack thereof, in the first half?
Well, virtually no performance from Herschel or the Minnesota offense. You have to ask yourself again, I know we're being redundant, 5 players, 7 picks in the first 3 rounds for this man. What did he do in the first half? Well, he was in for 3 plays on offense. He ran motion away, rushed for 3 yards, and then handed the ball off on a reverse. You can see he got 53 return yards. His total yards, 56 yards, but only 3 out of an offense that really did virtually nothing. 47 yards rushing and 19 yards passing. Why? Well, Rick Fenny is in the game. Not a great runner, but a hard runner. But watch 46. Alfred Anderson. Watch the block here. This is on the touchdown drive. He makes the block that springs Rick Fenny. Herschel Walker, they feel, in Minnesota, cannot block. When they put him in the game, he tips the offense. And when he tips the offense, they have no offense. So Herschel doesn't play because he doesn't block. And they say he doesn't pass block either, so you don't see him in there unless he's going to get the ball. You can't have that in pro football. Either Herschel's going to have to block or they're going to have to find something else for him to do.
Yeah, and it's something football related, yeah. Hopefully for Herschel. Now, moving over to the other side of the line of scrimmage, John Elway had a pretty decent first half, a workman-like first half. He threw 1 touchdown pass in this contest so far to Vance Johnson, who, Kevin, you were telling me a little earlier, he ran a pattern on the behind the line of scrimmage before he even went. He went into motion 2 different ways, gets open, Elway throws him a rope over on the side, and he's in there. But then, well, what could be disaster struck. John Elway was scrambling for his life out there a little bit later on in the half, and you'll watch what happens. He'll be rolling to your right, looking for somebody to get open. Sewell at first. Sewell was covered. Sewell's going to go ahead and make a block. So Elway's pumping, looking for something to do, trying to create, when all of a sudden he gets the pressure. The ball's batted away, but here's the one that hurts. His left ankle is rolled on. He got up and was visibly limping, went over to the sideline, sat down. They did something to his shoe. He came back in. He tried to play some more. He was hit once again. He was sacked by Chris Dolman, and he left the game. He walked out, headed upstairs. We don't know exactly what the situation is, but without him, that's going to be a tough thing for him.
Critical problem for Denver. You see what he means to the offense with him. Or Kubiak came in, threw an interception. The Minnesota defense has really beat up on Elway, and I think that's been a key in the game.
Well, let's go down to Craig Sager on the field. Craig, do you have an update on the Elway situation for us?
Well, Fred, no quarterback in the league has led his team to more wins the last 6 years than John Elway, and that includes Joe Montana. I saw him on the way into the locker room. He said it was a foot injury. He plans to be back. I just checked. He has come back onto the field, so it looks like John Elway will play in the second half.
Okay, Craig, thank you very much. We'll see you for the Stadium Show postgame. Kevin will be back to talk about the contest and a lot more. But right now, we're going to get you ready for the second half. Skip and Pat standing by with the play-by-play call. We'll have more after this.
The Nissan Halftime Report has been brought to you by Nissan, built for the human race.
There's the story at halftime. The Broncos lead it 16-7. David Treadwell getting ready to kick off. And Herschel Walker is the deep man. We understand John Elway will give it a whirl here. He has a left foot injury. Boy, he's still limping badly.
Yeah, it looked like he's ready to go to me.
It's either the foot or ankle. We're still trying to find out. Here we go, and Walker will field it at the 6. He reaches the 30, perhaps the 31. Here are your first half stats, Patrick.
Yeah, really, it was. It really could have been a rout early on, but for some nice goal line defense by the Minnesota Vikings. But again, the total yards clearly in the favor of the Denver Broncos. But this game, really, but for some very good Minnesota defense, could have been a blowout in the first quarter.
Walker is in the backfield along with Finney. Hassan Jones wide to the left, Carter to the right. From the 31. Play action. Gannon's going to put it up. And it's complete to Hassan Jones, and he is down at the 46-yard line.
Well, that's what a quarterback needs to, Skip. The guy, you come out in the first series of the second half, you kind of struggled a little bit in the first half, and you get a nice completion. I mean, that just builds your confidence.
Mark Munford made the stop after a 15-yard pickup. Anthony Carter wide left. Jones goes to the right. Walker in motion. He's a good pass receiver, but they give to Finney, and he breaks the tackle.
Oh,
crosses midfield and then really gets popped.
There's Atwater, I think, again. Skip.
He is tough. Warren Power is also involved out there, but a good pickup nonetheless.
Yeah, there's some big bodies. Rick Finney and Steve Atwater going at one another right there.
Second down, 3 yards to go. Carter left, Jones right. Walker and Finney behind Gannon. Gannon looks, has time, has a man, it's Carter. He breaks one, down to the 18.
Well, he is fun to watch. And I think good players always sense people around him. Watch after this catch. He senses the body behind him, which is Steve Atwater, and he just kind of leans away from the guy. He just kind of lean away from the guy right there. It breaks away from Atwater.
Alton Montgomery finally caught him. They mark it at the 19. Finney and Alfred Anderson now, the running back. Carter again wide left. Gannon looks great in the second half. Finney in motion. Anderson hit, breaks a tackle. Bounces outside, is hit and wrapped up at the 15-yard line. Greg Cragen among those on the stop.
Now, Alfred Anderson is one of those guys you don't notice much until Monday. You pick up the stat sheet, you see that he ran for 40 or 50 yards. You watch the film on Monday, you see that he didn't make any mistakes. He blocked the blitzing linebackers, led the way for other ball carriers. A valuable and versatile player for the Vikings is Alfred Anderson.
We just learned John Elway will probably play no more. It's a sore left toe. It may be that turf toe stuff. Gannon into the flat. Anderson can't handle it. Boy, that Montgomery really popped him, but it was an incompletion, and third down approaches. Into the game, Chris Carter.
Yeah, there's a guy, Alton Montgomery, who was naturally a safety. Played safety at Houston, at the University of Houston. He is a rookie, #2 draft pick. but they have him starting at left corner, and a lot of safeties would freeze out there just because you really are on an island, but he has not. He has reacted to the pressure of playing corner pretty well. Had an interception in the first half.
3rd and 7 from the 15. Anthony Carter wide left, Chris Carter wide right. They haven't thrown to Steve Jordan much tonight. Keep an eye on him. Gannon running, looking, being pressured and wrapped up. Simon Fletcher again outside the 20-yard line. What a game he's had. 5th sack on Gannon. Fletcher has 3 of them, I believe.
You know, I think you spend so much time worrying about guys like Carl Mecklenburg and Ron Holmes on passing situations, you forget that Simon Fletcher has been a force rushing the passer now for 2 years. He had 12 sacks a year ago, 7 this year, and he has beaten both backs and tackles to make the sacks.
Igwe Buike in to try the field goal from 38 yards. Ronald Igwe Buike. And he drills it, and less than a touchdown now separates the 2 teams. 16-10 is our score. 11.5 minutes left. We'll be back after this. It comes from your local sponsors. Kevin Clark, Alton Montgomery, the deep men. Fouad Ruvez will kick it off for the Vikes, who trail now by 6. Boy, that missed extra point, blocked extra point, always seems to rear its ugly head before the game is done, and it may well do it again tonight. Here we go. Rivez cranks it out of there. The high kick. It's going to be Montgomery at the 3. Right up the middle. Bang. He fails to reach the 20. Rick Finney was in there on the stop.
What a nice play by Rick Finney, the starting fullback down there in the kickoff. Here's the guy who's been running over people, but the story of this game right now is that John Elway injured that foot and is not coming out on the field to play or open the second half.
Now, the last report we heard was it was doubtful that he would play anymore, which holds open the possibility. I guess if Kubiak got knocked out or something, they'd have little choice. They'll get to mark the ball at the 20-yard line as we go to work, and Sewell comes wide to the right. Bobby Humphrey, the running back. Jackson in motion. He looks to Sewell, and it's intercepted, and Browner is going to take it in, and the Vikings can take the lead.
That's unbelievable because it's just the matchup that Denver wanted. Sewell against Joey Browner, but it's one thing when you have Elway's arm and the guy is split out that far wide and you can drill the ball in there. And Gary Kubiak just does not have the arm that John Elway does, so the receiver's got to cut his split down. Otherwise, you have this kind of play. That is a nice read by Joey Browner.
26 yards. Igwe Buike will try to give Minnesota the lead. 17 unanswered points, and the Vikings have the lead for the first time tonight. 17-16 is our score. We'll be back to the Metrodome right after this.
The NFL on TNT is being brought to you by Hyundai. Test drive the new Sporty Scoop from Hyundai. Yes, Hyundai. And by Allstate. For home, auto, life, and business insurance, you're in good hands with Allstate.
Well, Gary Kubiak is 3 out of 3, but unfortunately 2 of those passes have gone to the Vikings, 1 for a touchdown, and Minnesota leads by 1. And he is a pro, and he'll shake it off and come back out there. Kevin Clark, Alton Montgomery are the deep men. Ruvez will kick it off again, and he booms one to the goal line. Montgomery again, right back up the middle again. Better results. Midfield, 42-yard line. Michael Brim may have saved a touchdown. 58-yard return. They had a 63-yard return earlier.
Boy, has he been a force on the special teams for the Denver Broncos. It's a second long kickoff return. He's been returning punts, and this is again well blocked. Remember Finney last time made the tackle, number 31? Well, Finney ran right over a defender, and then Alton Montgomery ran by him.
Reggie Rutland also in on the stop. Kubiak brings him out. First down at the 42-yard line. Denver trails by a point. Humphrey gets a block, gets outside, breaks a tackle, and gets to the 31-yard line, close to a first down. Darrell Fullington made the stop.
You know, we started, Skip, at the beginning of the year noticing all the defensive scores in the NFL this season. I think there's been more than I can ever remember by the defense, and we just saw Joey Browner return one in for the Vikings, but 19 interceptions for touchdowns in the years, 15 fumble recoveries. I mean, it's been an incredible defensive year in the NFL.
Coming into this game, Denver had led all 7 of their games at halftime, but outscored 115-50 in the second half. And it's started out that way in the second half tonight. Well, Kubiak fumbled the snap. Denver looks like they got it back. Either Humphrey or Kubiak, both were there.
Well, you know, the other thing is Denver has had 3 one-point games. It's 1 point now, and lost 2 of those. The ball just didn't come up, and Kubiak didn't have a chance. Again, the toughest thing for a quarterback on the road after you throw an interception for the score is to come back and get in rhythm, get some confidence. What he needs right now more than anything else is a completion. I don't care if it's only for 5 yards.
Natil wide right, Young wide left. Second and 14, draw play, Humphrey doesn't get much, gets perhaps to the 31. The ball is knocked loose, but after he hit the ground, Ken Clark, the veteran out of Syracuse, with the stop. 3rd and long for Denver. 9:20 remaining in the 3rd quarter. A concerned Dan Reeves looked on. He had things going his own way, but not anymore. His quarterback's hurt, and he's down by a point.
And here's a situation, 3rd and 9, backup quarterback in the game. You don't think Chris Dolman and Al Noga and Henry Thomas and some guys are licking their chops right now?
Natil wide right, Michael Young to the left. Sewell in the backfield with Kubiak. Swing pass. Sewell has nothing there. He's down at the 28-yard line. Mike Merriweather on the stop. Andre McMillan was there as well, and they have held. David Treadwell comes marching onto the field. He'll try a pretty long field goal, as long as this year, 44 yards.
Yeah, and it is a long one, and generally your trajectory is lower. I remember Tim Irwin blocked one earlier, the extra point. He's 6'7". Number 76 will line up in the middle of that defense.
46-yard attempt. It would be his longest of the year. It would give Denver the lead back. Yes. Treadwell hammers it home. And the lead goes back to Denver by 2 points with 8:09 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Well, Skip, you mentioned it. Denver has not been a strong second half team. You see all the leads they've had, and the 4 losses all came in games where they led at halftime. And in particular, the 4th quarter has really led to their demise. They've had twice as many points scored on them in the 4th quarter as they have scored. And Wade Phillips was most concerned about his pass defense. 25th, ranked 25th in the NFL, 25 interceptions, played well early in this football game.
You know, when we got our schedule early this year, we figured this would be a game just like this, but we thought these 2 teams would be much further along in the standings, but they've played a dandy.
You're right, they have played. And again, I think give the Minnesota players some credit. They really had nothing to lose, and sometimes you say, hey, guys are going to go in the tank and not play hard, but you went out and talked with Minnesota players this past week, and not one of them said, hey, we still think we can win. You know, we may not make it to the playoffs, but we're going to play hard on Sunday night.
Herschel Walker deep again. He's had a busy night. David Treadwell will kick it off. Denver's possessed the ball 8 times. They've started 5 times in Minnesota territory. But they have just 19 points. Low line drive bounces around. Anderson at the 8-yard line. He's to the 20, the 25, the 32. Anderson Scott Curtis, Tim Lucas in on the stop. 24-yard return.
Well, now you have a game between two teams that everybody thought was going to be in the Super Bowl hunt, and now two backup quarterbacks facing one another. Rich Gannon and Gary Kubiak. And right now, Gannon is the quarterback, although he's only completed the 4 of 10, who seems to have played in the second half at least with a little bit more confidence.
Walker and Finney in the backfield behind Gannon from the 32. Walker on the sweep. He's got room. First down, 43-yard line.
Have to be happy for Herschel Walker after all the grief he's taken. You know, you say, why the trade? Well, I guess if Adam and Eve can swap paradise for an apple, you think this guy's going to be the missing piece of the puzzle and get you to the Super Bowl.
As Walker comes off, the crowd boos. I don't think they're booing him. They want to see him run it again.
And that has really been his complaint. He makes a run like that, and they don't give him the ball again. You talked about running backs getting in rhythm, and he's never had that opportunity here.
From the 43, Alfred Anderson's going to do all right. Down to the 45-yard line before he's decked by Atwater. Another 11-yard pickup in Minnesota. A much different looking team than they were early in this game.
Well, you know, some of it is the adjustments I think they made at halftime. They came out and opened the second half with a play-action pass, and then came back and ran the football and have run it actually pretty well here.
Andre Townsend has checked into the defensive line, and Warren Powers has gone out for the Broncos. Gannon brings him up once more. 6:40 left in our third quarter. Gannon will throw. He has time. Now he is sacked. Down he goes. The 6th time he's been sacked, and there's that man again, Simon Fletcher.
I think it's his 4th, I think. The 4th sack by Simon Fletcher. Now that tells you one thing. Either you're going to have to double team Simon Fletcher or change your blocking scheme, because he's been putting way too much pressure on Rich Gannon. Football is a game of adjustments, and if a guy like that is hurting you that badly, you've got to change it up.
Second down, 14 from the 49. Carter wide left, Jones wide right. Gannon puts it up again. He's got time. He goes long. It is almost intercepted. It was intended for Hassan Jones. Alton Montgomery on the coverage, and he almost came away with the football. And 3rd and long will be the result for the Vikes.
Now, this time you're going to see Simon Fletcher, again, number 73, come up. And again, one of the backs, it's Finney, misses him there earlier, cuts him, but then he realizes he's got to come back and block him a 2nd time. And that's a nice play by Rick Finney. You don't block him once, you have to block him twice to give your quarterback a chance.
3rd and 14 from the 49. Gannon goes to the shotgun. Gannon feels some pressure. Down he goes again. This time, David Galloway was the first man there. The veteran out of Florida. That's his 2nd sack. And what started with such promise for the Vikings on that drive comes to absolutely nothing, and Newsome in to kick it away. And Kevin Clark in to return it.
You know, sometimes you sense players feeling maybe a game slipping away. And I think the Denver Broncos, when John Elway got hurt, sensed that, but in their defense realized, hey, if we're going to win this game, we've got to make some plays, and they've done it in the last couple of series.
Newsome stands at his 29. He'll kick from about the 33. Clark stands at his 11. Another fine kick. Clark at the 10. 15. Made a good move to get to the 22-yard line. Boy, he took some hits. Mike Jones finished him up. 46-yard punt, 12-yard return. We'll be back to the Metrodome right after this from your local sponsors. Well, now let's take a look at tonight's Hyundai leaderboard. And that's up to the moment with Humphreys running tonight. That Marion Butts having a fine year. And the Chargers and Dan Henning, after a slow start, playing quite well. Vance Johnson splits wide to the right. Bratton and Humphrey, the running backs. behind Kubiak. He's calling an audible. The give is Humphrey, and he gets almost nothing. Make it Bratton who got the carry, my mistake. Deuce Bobek on the stop.
Yeah, if he just came in a little bit late. Again, John Elway out with the injured toe. Gary Kubiak opened up here in the second half. As a guy over his career, there's Elway. And again, I think as a coach, what you're most concerned about is, as you said earlier, these toe injuries, ankle injuries, they seem to linger. You know, you don't get rid of these things for a week. And they've already had their bye week, which was last week.
Jackson splits wide left, 2nd and 8 from the 24. Kubiak eludes some pressure, goes long for Bratton, and he has him, and he breaks the tackle. And he's down to the 44-yard line. What a catch and what punishment he took. Scott Studwell finally finished him off. 32-yard pickup.
Melvin Bratton in his second year, he has always been a terrific receiver because he's really got some soft hands, but that's some determination there by Kubiak, who was hit by about 4 different guys. But again, it's not too often you see a fullback like that jump up and time a catch in a crowd and then come down with it.
Jackson wide to the left, Johnson in the slot to that side. Fullington had the hard hit on Bratton, but he bounced right off. First down, of course. Humphrey, a marked man, but he gets about 5. Fullington on the stop.
The thing when you watch Bobby Humphrey, he always seems to make the first guy miss. No matter how well you have him defended, either he breaks a tackle or he puts a move on you and makes the first guy miss. So if you're going to have success against Bobby Humphrey, you need to have at least 2 players tackling on every run.
A pickup of 4 is given to him at 2nd down and 6. Jackson to the left, Johnson in the slot to that side. Bratton and Humphrey the running back. Kubiak throws a slant, and it's complete, and what a catch by Jackson. Reggie Rutland was all over him, but he made the catch. But a flag, and we may have a hold against Denver.
Yeah, they called a hold, but I think they got away with a pass interference, Skip.
I did too.
Yeah.
Holding, number 60 of the offense, 10 yards, still 2nd down.
Big Gerald Perry called for the penalty. First flag against Denver all night, and what a big one it turns out to be.
We'll take a look at the hold, number 60. Gerald Perry is the left tackle.
Wait a minute, though. Deuce Bobek just threw his arms in the air and hollered. They may have thrown another flag. They may have called that interference.
We have holding on the offense, interference on the defense. We'll replay, 2nd down.
I never saw the second flag, but you were right, Pat. It looked like interference.
Yeah, here's Reggie Rutland, number 48. Yeah, I mean, clearly, there's just no doubt. That's a heck of a catch, considering the interference.
Tell you what happened. I bet the official saw the reception, didn't bother to throw the flag because he assumed they'd take the play right there. He didn't know about the other flag. At any rate, we do it all over again. It's 2nd and 6 from the 40. Jackson to the left, Johnson to the right. Kubiak throws, Bratton fumbles, makes the catch. He's out of bounds at the 35-yard line. He got it back into his grasp before he went out of bounds. Mike Merriweather ran him out.
He wasn't open by much. Mike Merriweather, number 57, the linebacker for the Vikings, is a guy that it always seems to be around the ball. You saw him around Bratton there. He had involved in 7 turnovers this year. He had 3 interceptions and recovered a fumble and caused 3 others. Always around the ball. And some guys just have a feel, a knack for it. He's one of those guys.
Huge play here. 3rd and 1. Humphrey sneaks and wriggles and gets the first down. Deuce Bobek on the stop along with Studwell.
Then we talked about Bobby Humphrey, the way he follows, blocks. Watch the right guard here, number 67, Waddell, come in here. And then Bobby Humphrey just hugs that block. He just feels the block that Waddell is going to make and reads off it. See? Waddell blocked his man inside, so he ran outside right off the play.
Orson Mobley got his bell rung on that play and leaves the field for Denver.
It's kind of fun to watch Bobby Humphrey. Reminds me a lot of O.J. Simpson, the way he used to read people and read blocks.
Clarence Kay has checked into the game for Denver for the first time tonight. They were frankly surprised that he was able to play in this game. He got hurt in practice. He's been battling a bad leg, the veteran out of Georgia. So he gets his first work of the night. On first down with 2 minutes left in the third period, the ball's at the 33-yard line. Jackson wide right, Johnson wide left. Bratman, Humphrey running. Kubiak fakes, looks long, goes for all of it, misread. Browner can't get there. Jackson had pulled up. Kubiak thought he was going to keep going, and fortunately threw the ball out of bounds, or Browner would have had yet another interception.
Yeah, that was a nice play by Carl Lee, the defensive back for the Minnesota Vikings, number 39, and he was saying yesterday that these receivers on the Broncos are so quick, you really have to jam them, and they play a lot of bump and run. He said, when I look at Mark Jackson or Vance Johnson, I look right at their stomach, and then I get my hands into Mark Jackson's stomach so I can give him a good bump and not let him get a free release.
2nd and 10. Shannon Sharp into the game. Forte goes wide right. Jackson wide left. Johnson in the slot left. Pitch play. Humphrey cuts in. Gets across the 30 down to the 29-yard line. Ken Clark made the stop. And it's going to be 3rd and long for Denver.
Ken Clark, number 71, the inside tackle for Minnesota, really made a nice play. Here's a guy in his 13th year that the Vikings cut a while ago. And then when Millard got hurt, they called him. He came back. And even in his 13th year, he still has enough burst to make a play like that.
Humphrey, 18 carries, 81 yards. He leads the game. Ricky Nattil goes wide left. Michael Young wide right. Steve Sewell is in the backfield with Kubiak. 3rd and 6. It is incomplete. Jackson had it in his hands. The pass a little bit high, but he couldn't pull it down. And then after it deflected high, he's fortunate it wasn't intercepted.
Yeah, that ball should have been caught, but I think there's such a difference. Watch number 80, who's right there in the slot. He is open. The ball is well thrown. But, you know, I think sometimes when you get so used to John Elway's pass, who just come drilling in there, Kubiak took a little something off that. Sometimes it's just that adjustment, but that ball was well thrown and really should have been caught by Mark Jackson.
Another 46-yard try for Treadwell. He nailed one from there about 5 minutes ago. Kubiak puts it down. Does it have enough? Yes. Boy, just barely got it over. Just barely got it over. But the score goes to 22-17 Broncos. Next Saturday, it's SEC football action on TBS as the Georgia Bulldogs meet the Florida Gators at the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. World's largest outdoor cocktail party at 12:30 Eastern on TBS. Bob Neal, Tim Foley will have it for you. Herschel Walker's run back a ton of kicks tonight. This one from the 3. And he's found at the 28-yard line.
Well, you see what the Viking running backs have done. Walker's in for 7 plays. Again, it's just hard to figure because what you look for in any football player, every scout has always said all you look for are size and speed. And Herschel Walker has both of those attributes.
From the 28-yard line, here we go. Walker with a pitch. Comes wide left, doesn't get much. Munford was there on the stop along with Brooks and Atwater.
Again, he's had a couple of decent runs, but again, you just continue to need to feed him the ball, and it's only a 5-point game. It's the kind of game that you'd like to give a guy a chance to maybe win it for you. You give him 10 carries maybe in the 4th quarter and let him get some rhythm.
He's in the game for 2 consecutive plays, which has been rare tonight. Play action. Gannon says the heck with it. I'm going to run. Heads to the sidelines. Gets a block and gets out of bounds at about the 33-yard line. Michael Brooks was blocked by Anthony Carter, which saved some wear and tear on Gannon. And 5 seconds are left in the quarter, and it's about to come to a close.
You know, Walker's a pretty good receiver as well, number 34. And I think Gannon was actually trying to get him the ball. He had beaten Mark Munford but there was a safety behind him, and that's why Gannon didn't throw it.
So the third quarter is history. It's a 5-point game. Back to the Metrodome right after these words. Tuesday night, don't miss NBA basketball action on TNT. First, undefeated Boston takes on the Bulls, who are 0-2, followed by undefeated Atlanta against Dick Motta's Sacramento team. All live Tuesday night right here on TNT. Here we go to the fourth quarter of our game with Denver on top by 5, as you see. Big crowd in the Metrodome. It's 3rd and 5 for Gannon and the Vikes. Hassan Jones in motion. Gannon fades to throw. Has time. Has a man. Has a first down. Flags fly.
Well, that had to be pass interference.
Michael Brooks among those involved.
It's a heck of a catch there, though, by Allen Rice, wasn't it? He had Steve Atwater all over his back.
Yeah, it was Atwater, not Brooks, who was involved defensively.
Defensive pass interference, number 27. First down.
Jerry Austin with the call.
You're going to see Atwater just come right over his back before the ball gets there with the left hand. But I say that was just one heck of a catch. Man.
So the drive is alive at the 40-yard line. Hassan Jones in motion. A give to Fenny. Lost the football. Big scramble. I don't know who's got it. The Vikings say they do.
It looked like for a moment that Atwater was going to get that on the fly.
Herschel Walker checks into the game. And now further fun and games as Warren Powers is all upset. The second-year man out of Maryland.
Take another look at Fenny, who takes a pop. Well, then watch number 27 in white come into the picture. It looks like Atwater's going to catch it right there. And then one of the Viking linemen ends up making the recovery.
So a 4-yard gain out of all that for Minnesota, and a very big break for them. 2nd and 6. Walker with a pitch. Flea-flicker back to Gannon. Goes for all of it. Long pass. It is caught by Anthony Carter. Touchdown. What an unbelievable play.
He was out of bounds, though. I mean, it was one heck of a catch. He stepped out. It was one heck of a catch, but he stepped out of bounds.
The officials signal touchdown. So let's wait and see here.
The thing about Anthony Carter, he is so special because of his body control. I mean, he is well covered here by Alton Montgomery, but he waits to the last moment to go up and make the catch. Now watch him step out. I didn't see it there.
I don't know that he did. Unbelievable 56-yard touchdown strike.
Yeah, I was wrong. He did not step out, but it was still one heck of a catch and an adjustment. Watch how he waits just for the last moment. A lot of guys jump too early, but a tremendous patience there.
Alton Montgomery was covering. I started to say was beaten on the play. He really wasn't.
No, he had it well covered.
It is a touchdown. They've replayed it.
You know, when
they the replay, the call stands. Touchdown.
When they've thrown the ball to Anthony Carter, either he's been wide open or he's made a play like that.
Igwebuike will try the extra point. Newsom will hold.
Beautifully on his name all evening long.
Thank you. And the kick is good. 24-22 Vikings. What a catch by Anthony Carter. We'll be back to the Metrodome after this. NFL Charities tonight increased its commitment to the National Federation of Parents for Drug-Free Youth to $165,000 with a $10,000 contribution. The National Federation concluded its 3rd annual Red Ribbon campaign for a drug-free America this week.
First quarter summary really was all Broncos. Really should have been up greater than that, than the 6-point lead. In the second quarter, the Vikings kind of hung in there. Long TD drive, and John Elway was injured. And then Joey Brown in the third quarter on the interception return. Treadwell with 2 long field goals. And here's the last play. You know, some guys, even when they're covered, you know, ordinarily you'd say, hey, the guy's covered, don't throw him the ball. But you even throw the ball to Anthony Carter when he is covered because he makes plays like that.
That flea flicker play didn't work, except it worked because of the great play by Carter.
Didn't fool anybody.
Reveiz kicks it off and booms it high. Kevin Clark at the 8-yard line. He's got a seam again. It gets across the 35 out to the 36. Audrey McMillan made the stop.
This guy has been a weapon tonight, Kevin Clark. I mean, that's his, what, 3rd or 4th long kickoff return. He's done it on punts as well. Again, here's a guy they cut early in the year and was playing in the Canadian League.
If you've been out looking at the autumnal splendor of the leaves falling throughout the country and just joined us, we want to remind you that John Elway, we think, suffered turf toe in the first half, has not played in the second. Gary Kubiak is in there at quarterback. And he's down by 2. And he's going to put it up right away. Bang, down the middle, has a man. It's Vance Johnson to the 45.
I don't know if you've ever tried to eat Jell-O with chopsticks, but it's when you're trying to tackle a guy like Vance Johnson, it's something like that. He is so quick.
Is that like military intelligence or one of those things? Is that what that?
Those oxymorons, yeah. I once played with a guy who thought an oxymoron was a dumb cow. You know.
A dumb ox. It's the last game, folks. 1st and 10 from the 46-yard line. Vance Johnson, wide right. Jackson to the left. Kubiak, Humphrey. Gets to midfield. Scott Studwell there to put the kibosh on him. Fullington involved as well.
You know, much like Herschel Walker, when they used to give him a ball a lot, gains momentum and strength. I think Bobby Humphrey is a perfect example of that. As you watch him again, the 4th quarter, he's handled the ball an awful lot tonight. And yet, even when there isn't much of a hole there, he can still move the pile. He doesn't look like a physical running back, but somehow when there's a lot of bodies around, he always seems to move them backward.
2nd and 5 from midfield. Flags fly. Free play for Denver. It looks like intercepted. It's Dolman. Remember those flags. Dolman breaks a tackle. Out of bounds at the 30-yard line, but hold the phone. Flags went flying. It looked like the Vikings were offside. We're about to find out from Jerry Austin.
I think Dolman was offside.
Defense, number 56, offside. 5 yards.
What a break for Kubiak and the Broncos.
Watch right there. Chris Dolman trying to get the quick snap on the passing down is off, and he basically just kind of gets stuffed by Perry. Does make a nice little play, and he was wide open.
Big break for the Broncos.
Man, unbelievable. I don't know if you saw Keith Karch, the center for the Broncos, just threw the umpire down, trying to catch Chris Dolman. Now, even though it doesn't count, that interception, you have to think that Gary Kubiak is a little unsettled. He's thrown 2 interceptions earlier in the game. That one gets called back, of course.
They measure here for the first down after the 5-yard penalty.
You know, he looks like he's smiling, which is great to see. I mean, it's great to see when you've had a play like that, that a guy can still keep a sense of humor about it all.
John Elway looks on from the sideline. Second down, 1 yard to go from the 45. 12-19 left in regulation. Jackson wide left. Johnson to the right. Bratton with Humphrey in the backfield. Second and very short. Humphrey, first down, 41-yard line.
No,
Scott Studwell on the stop.
You know, a good back he can give the ball to on first down and on 3rd and 1. And with Bobby Humphrey, they can do that. I mean, we just saw him move the pile a little bit earlier. And he can pick up 15, 20 yards for you on 1st down. But when you need the 3rd and 1, you still give Bobby Humphrey the ball.
20 carries, 89 yards for Humphrey. From the 42, 1st down. Not much this time. He got only to the 40-yard line. Bratton was the ball carrier. He got very little. Melvin Bratton out of Miami.
This is a guy who has not surprised anybody as a receiver. He's coming on as a runner, and primarily the last couple of weeks when Bobby Humphrey was hurt, he had really begun to come on as a runner.
Bratton leaves. Clarence Kay is in the game. Steve Sewell checks in as well. Audrey McMillan checks out of there for Minnesota. 11 minutes left. Kubiak is running. 1st down. Gets out of bounds near the 25-yard line. A fine run by Kubiak.
And Chris Dolman is really upset because he just missed Kubiak. Number 56 at the bottom of the screen. He just misses him. He runs around Gerald Perry, who tries to cut him. Kubiak steps up into the pocket, and then just a one hand can't hold on to it, but a nice play by Kubiak.
If he waits a split second to step up, he is under the artificial turf here. Bobby Humphrey and Melvin Bratton, the running backs. Shannon Sharp wide to the right. 1st down at the 25. A field goal gives Denver the lead. Humphrey again fights his way for close to 4 yards. He made Henry Thomas miss him at the line and squirted down to about the 22.
You're right. Just as you said, he made Henry Thomas miss him, and he's done that all night long. His entire career makes that first guy miss, and then he always picks up 3, 4, 5 yards after the first tackler misses him. But it's also a good call, a little draw play there against a team like the Vikings, who rush the passer as well as they do.
Vance Johnson wide to the left. Jackson in motion. A reverse. It's Jackson. He's got the 10. He's got the 5, but a flag down around the goal line, and we may have a clip.
I think he's going to call it on the center, Keith Karts, who got his big old elbow in somebody's face.
It's holding against Denver. What a big play. Clarence Kay is really upset. So upset he might be the villain.
Number 72.
Nope.
10 yards.
You're right, Keith Karts.
Yeah, I was watching right at the end of the play. Watch number 72, the center. He's going to come out here. He's the guy they call the penalty on. He gets knocked down, shoved around in the line, but he's hustling. I'm telling you, he bounces back up. And as he tries to throw the block here for Jackson, right there, he had actually held a little bit earlier than that on Joey Browner. And the side judge was there to make the call. Watch Joey Browner and Karts. Grabs him with the right arm, and that's a good call. That's a good call.
Michael Young wide left, Ricky Nattiel to the right on 2nd and 12 at the 27. Flags fly again. Intercepted. Audrey McMillan made the play. Again a flag. Let's see what this one's about. It's holding against Denver, so the play will stand.
Holding number 60 of the offense. The penalty is declined. 1st down.
Well, you know, Garrett Kubiak just saw Minnesota throw a ball to Anthony Carter when he was covered and went up and made a great play, and he tries to come right back to Ricky Nattiel, who is also well covered, but that time there's no way Nattiel's going to make the play, and Audrey Williams picks him off, McMillan, I'm sorry, picks him off for the 3rd time.
Yeah, that's 3 interceptions. Still a 2-point game. A lot of time left. We'll be back.
The NFL on TNT is being brought to you by Jeep. There's only one Jeep.
9 minutes of play remaining. 24-22 Vikings.
This happened during the timeout. John Elway and Gary Kubiak both came in the same year, 8 years ago. Both very good friends, and Elway is just trying to help him shake it off.
Benny and Walker are the running backs. Herschel Walker on a sweep. Made one man miss. He's down the sideline. Atwater got him out of bounds at the 35. 17-yard pickup. Dennis Smith just missed him in the backfield.
Well, you know, a lot of question marks coming into this game about the Vikings. A lot of them about Herschel Walker. Would they quit? Would they give up? Would they just die at 1-6? And I think a lot of questions have been answered tonight. Certainly the Vikings have not quit, and Herschel Walker on that play certainly didn't.
He and Finney still the running backs. Hassan Jones goes wide. Up the middle, Walker, what a hit as he reached the 40. A pickup of about 3.
You know, and this is the perfect kind of situation of a game where you'd want to use Herschel Walker. Your team is leading by 2 points in the 4th quarter, and you just want to use the clock, grind out some first downs, and go into the locker room with a win.
A Denver player is injured on the play, so time is halted. That was a tough football game the Chiefs won today. The Bengals continue to mystify their fans.
Me too. I really thought the Bengals were going to have a terrific year. Still can.
Miami, boy, they just keep rolling along with that defense.
Yeah. They made it a lot easier for Dan Marino.
Did you see Montana?
Man,
what a master.
You know, he does it every week, so you don't appreciate it as you probably should. He makes it look so doggone easy. The Jets, a much improved team this year. That was a heck of a game there.
Curtis was the injured Bronco. We're happy to report he's leaving the field under his own power. The wave has arrived at the Metrodome. That's always a pleasure.
I always look forward to that.
8 minutes exactly remaining in our game. It's 2nd and 7 from the 40-yard line.
In the first half, the Minnesota defense kept them in the game. Now it's up to the Denver defense, a defense that struggled most of the year, to give their offense a chance to win it again.
The Viking players asking their crowd to zip it up, but they won't. Walker again fights his way for perhaps 3 more. Michael Brooks, Steve Atwater involved in the tackle.
Okay, this is the down. 3rd and about 3.
Into the game, Alan Rice.
Yeah, 7:30 remaining in the game.
Out of the game comes Herschel Walker. Yeah, out of the game comes Steve Jordan.
And remember, this is the down. Remember how good how well Simon Fletcher has played in passing situations tonight. He and David Galloway have put all kinds of pressure on Rich Gannon.
It's 3rd and 3. He's got time. He's got a man. Carter, first down. Elliott Smith on the stop, but not before the 9-yard pickup and the Minnesota first down. And Gannon, after a shaky start, a horrible game last week, and a shaky start tonight, has really played well.
Skip, watch Carter here as he comes in and then he breaks out. He sells the defensive backs that he's going to make an inside move, and as soon as he has them overcommitted, he breaks outside. He's made one big play after another tonight, Anthony Carter.
He's caught 5 for 146 yards. The give, Finney bowling his way inside the 45 down to the 43-yard line. Boy, you can hear the popping way up here.
Well, that guy's doing most of the popping. Steve Atwater.
Amazing. He had 77 tackles coming in. He's in double figures tonight, I would guess. Gannon, by the way, 6 out of 13, 161 yards.
And really played a lot better here in the second half. Yes, his defense has played pretty well all game, but he has just seemed to be more comfortable this second half.
Carter left, Jones right. Herschel Walker back in the backfield with Finney. There's the pitch again to Walker. He cuts. He gets outside. He gets a first down to the 35. That's 7 carries for him for 49 yards. A 7-yard per run pickup.
Watch the block by number 31, Finney. He's the guy who ran so well inside, and then he blocks Carl Mecklenburg, and Herschel Walker runs right behind the block. So Finney won't get much credit for that play, but he's the one that really sprung Walker to the outside.
There'll be less than 5 minutes left when the Vikes run their next play from the 35. It's 1st and 10.
This is as much as the Vikings have used Herschel Walker in 5 games.
Gannon, Walker for about 4. And he's one of those guys, we mentioned it all night, and we're not trying to coach the Vikings. They've been very successful with their system. But throughout his career, and I saw him at high school and college as well as in the pros, the more he gets it, the better he does with it.
But again, the Vikings never have been a team that generally likes to feature one guy, so that's what's made the trade somewhat problematic. But nonetheless, regardless of the pass, right now is what you worry about in football. And right now, they're trying to run this clock out, and with a back like Herschel Walker, just keep giving it to him.
They're down to, as you see, less than 4:15. 2nd, 7. Walker, not much there. Reached the 30. It'll be 3rd and a short 5. Michael Brooks made the stop. He's a fine player, a linebacker out of LSU in his 4th year.
Now remember now, it is a 2-point game, so the Vikings have to be thinking at least a field goal, at least make it a 5-point game if they can, to force Denver to score a touchdown. So at 3rd and 5, this becomes another one of those very critical 3rd downs. We've had 2 of them on this drive already. Well, this is the 2nd one.
Walker leads the game to an ovation from the Viking faithful. Chris Carter is in the game and split wide left, the former Eagle. Gannon out of the shotgun on 3rd and 5. The give is to Rice. He goes wide. He breaks the tackle. He dives for the sticks, and he's close to the first down. Brooks on the stop again. And they argue about the spot.
Man, what a nice play and a nice block by Randall McDaniel, the left guard. Watch number 64. This is beautifully blocked. Everybody's sealed inside, including the wide receivers block inside. And then Randall McDaniel blocks Dennis Smith.
And they picked up the first down with a couple of feet to spare. So the clock ticks down to 2:48, and the game is going far too quickly for the Broncos.
And now really they're in field goal range as well.
Walker up the middle, fights his way close to the 20-yard line. Simon Fletcher on the stop, and we have a whistle and a timeout called by Denver. Their first. It will be 2nd and 7 from the 22 when we come back. First, this from your local sponsors. So far, this drive has lasted 9 plays. It's gone 59 yards. More importantly for Minnesota, it's taken 6 minutes, 33 seconds, and they're 2nd and 6 at the 21.
Wouldn't want to tell Dan Reeves it's just a game, would you?
No. Finney battles loose football. Let's see who got it.
Man.
Looks like the Vikings have it again. Finney's coughed it up twice. Let's watch him umpire.
You know, he's coughed it up twice tonight, as you mentioned, but coming into this game, he had not fumbled much. I mean, it was some incredible number. But again, I think it's more a good defense than anything else.
It's 3rd and 3 at the 18, and Minnesota in no hurry, of course. They can run it right down to the 2-minute period, and that's what they'll do.
Wow.
And we have reached the 2-minute period.
Yeah, I thought so. 3 fumbles and 350 carries, and then the 2 of them tonight. Hard to figure.
2 minutes left in our game. It'll be 3rd and 3 from the 18 when play resumes here. We'll be back to the Metrodome for the finish right after this. 3rd down, 3 yards to go, 18-yard line. Pat Haden, Skip Carey with you. Vikings have the lead and the ball and the clock
Well, you'd think they'd run the ball here, and then if they don't make it, kick the field goal.
But they have only Rice in the backfield. They do run. First down. Flag though. Ball is inside the 10-yard line, but a flag. In the area where it's normally holding, that's what it is.
And what a break for the Denver Broncos.
69, 10 yards, repeat third down.
Todd Kalis, the right guard. Number 69, the right guard, is Todd Kalis. He's the one they called the holding on. Got his left hand around Simon Fletcher. You know, he really wasn't even critical to the play, quite honestly, because they ran the ball right up the middle.
Well, that really changes things around. It's 3rd and 13. You see the stress on the face of Jerry Byrne. Well, Anthony Carter is wide right. They run it again. Same play. Rice, and he gets ranked at the 24-yard line. Simon Fletcher among those on the stop, and a timeout is called, of course, by Denver with 1:51 left. And the field goal unit will come on.
Yeah, they have to be thinking block here. Now, their tallest guy is Warren Powers. He is 6'6", right there, number 91. And earlier in the game for the Vikings, Tim Irwin, who's 6'7", blocked an extra point. So what you need to do is get your big guys like Warren Powers in the center of the defense and get those big paws up.
Donald Igwebuike will try the field goal that would give his team a 5-point lead. It was once 16-0 Denver. But now it's 24-22 Minnesota.
He has been phenomenal inside the 35-yard line, Igwebuike has. Here's a guy who's an awfully troubled guy.
Or is he? They keep writing that, but there's never any indictment. Maybe there will be, maybe there won't.
Exactly. I think the press and the media have convicted him, and he has not yet been indicted, but nonetheless been bothered.
From 41 yards. It's long enough. Yes, sir. It's a 5-point game. Igwebuike, a 41-yard field goal. 27-22 Vikings. But a touchdown could win it for Denver. We'll see how they fare when we come back. John Elway hurt a toe, has not played in this half. Clark and Montgomery, the deep man. Ruvez will kick it off. We have 1:47 left. Clark has averaged 38 yards on his returns. Montgomery 28 on his. Clark. He got across the 30 and up to about the 33. Deuce Bobbitt made the stop. Here's one of the big plays in the game, Patty.
This was the biggest, I think. It was the interception after some real duress that under Kubiak, and they had him driving. And you remember Kubiak saw Anthony Carter come up with a big catch, so he tried to force one into Ricky Nattiel, thinking, hey, maybe he'll make a play for me. But Audrey McMillan made the interception.
They give him the 32-yard line, so that's where 68 yards away are the Broncos with only 1:42 left. That drive for the field goal took 7 minutes, 13 seconds.
And one timeout remaining for the Broncos.
And they're in a lot of trouble. Kubiak sees pressure. Screen pass dropped by Sammy Winder. And it's just as well for the Broncos he did. He would have been nailed, and the clock would have continued to run.
You know, this is a tough situation for any quarterback, clearly. Again, particularly against this pass rush, and he just took a shot into the ribs. He will not be breathing particularly well tomorrow. Remember, John Elway has brought his team from behind 17 times in the fourth quarter. And now you have Gary Kubiak trying to do the same thing.
2nd and 10. Michael Young wide to the left. Vance Johnson to the right. Kubiak to throw. Has a man at the 41, short of the first down. Sewell made the reception, but the clock continues to roll, as you see, and it's a 3rd down play.
Need to hit a receiver on the move. You can't run those little hook routes because you're just going to run out of time.
Boy, they're taking an awful lot of time to get this 3rd down play off. That'll be enough for a 1st down. And Denver uses its final timeout with 1:11 left in the game.
You know, I think this is the toughest situation for a backup quarterback because during the week, first of all, you don't get many snaps at all and with the regular offense, and particularly running the 2-minute drill. You generally don't get a chance to run it much during the week.
Well, across the way, we could see Dan Reeves screaming, "Who called time?" He didn't want to use it this early. Well, this is our final Sunday night game for this year on TNT, our rookie season. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. We want to thank our unit manager, Stephanie Ray Bradley, technical manager, Grover Huckabee, Phil Doucette, our technical director, Bob McGee, our audio man, Mike Ross in charge of video, John Tomlinson, our engineer in charge, plus all our camera, videotape, graphic guys. Steve Bozica, our spotter, who saved my neck all year long. Mike Swanson, our statistician. Our audio man up here, Joe Eaton, and the princess, Michelle Zarzaka, along with Lonnie Dale, our director, and Ned Simon, our producer. And Pat, I want to thank you for all your help. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun, and thanks to all the crew, and good luck to the ESPN guys who take over next week. They do a great job.
Ron Franklin, Joe Theismann will be with you next Sunday night.
It's Mike Patrick.
Who did I say? Mike Swanson? He's a statistician. Sorry. Mike Patrick. Well, they're sort of our rivals on cable, though they're our colleagues, and they do a fine job.
Yeah, they do a great job.
You'll enjoy them starting next week. Mr. Patrick, I owe you a soda pop to apologize.
Okay, well, one guy is still thinking about trying to win this game, and that's Gary Kubiak. 1:06, no timeouts remaining. Again, you have to get the ball to a guy like Natil on the move. Oh.
Fumbled snap, big pileup. Who's got the football?
He wasn't even looking. I didn't think Kubiak was even looking for the snap.
The clock starts again, less than a minute remaining. It's 3rd down and 14. Kubiak begs for the football. He is hit by Brooks and sacked. And the clock will run. It was Dolman again. It's 4th down. 3rd sack. They start the clock again. 4th and 21.
What an incredible night that Chris Dolman has had, and really this entire Minnesota defense. Man, I tell you, they could have collapsed, but they didn't.
He airs it out. It's high, it's long, and it's out of bounds, and that'll do it. Michael Brim on the coverage. Johnson, the intended receiver, he had no chance. And Denver has blown a 16-point lead. 25 seconds left in the game.
Well, what? This is the 8th game they've had a lead in the second half.
And they're going to be 3 and 5.
Yep.
Next week, Denver goes to San Diego to face an improving team. And Minnesota travels to Detroit, where the Lions are going to be angry after losing a 3-touchdown lead today and losing to Washington in overtime. You'll hear all the details on the post-game show. Gannon started 0 for 4, finished 6 out of 9, 161 yards and a touchdown, and he won't be worrying about padding those stats now.
This game was really just for personal pride and for themselves, and I think the Minnesota Vikings deserve an awful lot of credit.
A bitter pill for Dan Reeves, and Jerry Burns smiles for the first time in 6 weeks, and you can see the agony on Reeves' face. The two coaches meet at midfield. The season is at the halfway mark. It's over for us on TNT. Your final score, Vikings 27, Broncos 22.